And you said before that this war doesn't get settled. Either Russia wins or Ukrainians win, but Putin will not come to any kind of treaty or treatise because that's not part of the game plan.
Well, so everyone always asks me every day, what's the end game? And they're all reading Putin's speeches and thinking, well, he said something about NATO and he said something about, wanting this Donbass. Why don't we just give him NATO and give him Donbass and then everything will be solved and we can all go back to... But that ignores the elephant in the room, which is that that's not why he's doing this. And so, first of all, we can't give him Donbass because that's ridiculous. Why should he get that? Why should he be rewarded for an aggression? But secondly, he's not going to stop there. He'll just keep on going and going and going because the purpose of this is to be at war. Right. And so he has no incentive. So whenever there's a, quote, negotiation, he puts out some unreasonable terms knowing that no one was ever going to agree to those terms. He can't have a negotiation because if he negotiates and stops, then the whole purpose of this thing has disappeared. Right. He looks weak.
Right, which means approval of ratings drop and ultimately it ends in his loss of life in some scenario earlier than he wanted it, right?
He wants, he's 70 years old. He wants to go until he's like 90 years old or whatever.
Yeah. And again, you said that scenario earlier. If some other presidents get elected and he stays in Russia, he's finished and he's got nowhere else he can go. So there's no good end game for him.
None.
Even an optimistic one. The next ruler of Russia is going to find some way to get rid of him. And they're very good at that there, right? And if he can't flee, because there's just nowhere for him to go.
He maybe goes to North Korea,
right.
Or Saudi Arabia, but that's not what he wants.
Right. And then after a while, maybe they won't want him there anymore.
No, of course not. They're going to want to have good relations with somebody, and he'd be a prized hostage to hand over for good treatment somewhere else.
Okay, so understand the motivation, and then you can understand. Yeah, when I see some of the announcements coming out, it's like when you hear North Korea negotiating. It's like it's all nonsense. It's like first there's a grain deal, then there's no grain deal. North Korea's like, oh, first we're going to do this, now we're not going to do this. They have one trump card, and they keep playing it over and over and over again. And if you believe anything they say, it's the joke's on you because they have one end game, and that's always that end game, and they feed you little bits of talking points in the meantime to get you going here and here and here and there.
And we're all so steeped in our own sort of Western values that we think that he's dealing like
project on him.
We think he's like us. He's not. This guy is like a full-on psychopathic killer. His heart doesn't start beating faster if a child was being tortured to death in front of him. He would feel nothing. He has no empathy, no conscience, no moral boundaries, and so we can't look at this guy and say he said this in this speech. He said this. That must be what he's trying to do. And by the way, all the people in Washington, all the policy experts, political scientists, are all sitting there reading his speeches and looking for hints about what he's doing and then reporting to their bosses, this is what they're trying to do, let's make a policy around this. You can't be a political scientist to deal with Putin. You need to be a criminologist to deal with Putin.
Right. But the only guy that rules Russia for 20 years and out of the situation he found it is that guy you just described, right? Is there any other guy that can do that?
He's the guy. Yeah.
I hate to say this. Does that country need a psychopathic ruler? Is it that crazy over there? You spent a lot of time there.
No, it doesn't need a psychopathic
If you look
ruler.
at the history of Russia over 500 years, and my dad read this one time, and he said it's just a repeating cycle over 100 years. You could say that about most countries.
Well, Russia has got a particularly bad past. They had the Tsars, they had communism, and then they had this. And it's, there were 10-year periods where things were kind of okay.
A lot of it's the geography, right? It's a tricky thing to keep together.
I think that's a myth.
Really?
I think it's a myth that's a tricky. Canada's got a big geography. Yeah. Really, it's got it's huge.
It's huge. But there's geopolitics involved in that whole region, and it seems to repeat itself on a regular basis.
I think that they just have had no tradition of non-murderous dictators.
Okay, is it cause or effect? That's the question. I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year's going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone. Also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline. I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up. If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?